Rangers fans, welcome to Liberty Blue, the essential New York Rangers podcast. I'm Andrew Chelney alongside Nick Zararis. And as you can tell by my voice, I'm not as upbeat as high pitched as I would normally be. We were planning on doing the Central Division previews. That's all out the window right now. That none of that matters. We do this for fun. Hockey is a fun sport where we get to talk about fun things, even though sometimes we yap about the negatives and all that. This is all fun. And over the weekend, we lost two people in the hockey world that will never be replaced in Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew Gaudreau. And it's been a few days, and I still cannot believe that this happened. The most avoidable thing on the planet, and yet it happened. And now families don't have their brother, their son, their fathers. This is such a tragedy, and this takes precedent over everything else.
This won't be easy. This is only going to be like 15 or 20 minutes. Going to do my best to keep it together here. I was able to do okay over the weekend because I was with my friends, but we're sitting here, and every now and then you have these type of moments that kind of break that illusion. That the reason we love sports is they are a fantasy. You know, we're talking about grown men playing a kid's game at the highest level and awing all of us with their natural ability. Someone like John, who you could not have picked him out of a lineup as the professional athlete in the room and was able to defy every expectation. One of the defining players of his era. His brother, who was, that is what kills me about all of this, is these are guys who were doing it the right way, who were chasing the dream on their terms. John bucking everybody's expectation of going to the Devils or the Flyers or another Canadian market because he felt something about Columbus that if I walk around here with my wife, my kids, no one's going to bother us because they're not going to recognize us. And we like that. And we like that it's a big city, but it has a small town feel at the same time. And his brother, who chasing the dream in the A, refusing to give up, that type of perseverance, those types of people we all know people like that who are pushing their way through, who are trying to figure it out, who want to do things on their own terms. And we admire those people who are willing to make things happen for themselves, who are willing to take chances on themselves. You know, I think about the story about John taping pucks to his waist when he got on the scale at the combine because he was going to weigh 130 pounds. And he knew, if I'm 130 pounds, no one's even going to draft me. I think about stories like him not liking sushi, but wanting to hang out with his friends and bringing a ham and cheese sandwich to a sushi restaurant just so he could be with his friends. I think about him wearing Yeezy Boosts or Chanel sneakers to the Calgary Stampede because he wanted to get his sneakers off. I think about him wearing a Flyers hat everywhere, even in Canada. Not a Flyers hat, excuse
Eagles
me.
Hat.
Phillies or an Eagles hat, where there was a picture of him at the Calgary Stampede wearing a Flames jersey with the Phillies hat. And it's guys like that. And when we break the illusion, you know, when we're outside of just talking about the game, that's what's so sobering about all of this is, as Andrew said at the outset of this episode, this is supposed to be fun. We do this because we genuinely love this. And it is such a great environment when it's at its best. You know, the opportunities, the people, all of what makes hockey special. You saw it over the last handful of days, and it's not going to be something that's easy. And I'm sure there will be times where I flick on the Blue Jackets this year, and I will not remember that Johnny Gaudreau is not on the Blue Jackets anymore. It's just, I'm thinking about all the people on that Columbus team, what they've been through the last handful of years. It's really gutting, and it's so damn sad, man. I've really tried the last few days, and I'm very grateful for the people I've been able to talk to, and just, this is terrible. It's terrible.
Sean Monahan signed in Columbus because he wanted to be with his friend again. And now he won't be able to do that.
That's why Branson signed there 2 years ago, because he wanted to keep playing with Johnny. Yeah.
I hope somebody's talked to Sean Monahan, man. Yeah. Like that. It's the most frustrating thing about all of this is that this, like, none of this should have happened. This wasn't, you know, some, like, they were just riding their bikes, man. They were supposed to be at their sister's wedding. This was supposed to be a happy thing. They're just working out, riding a bike down the street. Like this was a normal day. I think it was in New Jersey. Like this was the most like mundane situation. And then some loser has to come in and destroy everything. He was under the influence. I mean, I saw the clips of him at the video trial, and he would just didn't wasn't even like looked like he didn't even care. Like that it really just like it's tough to put into words the anger I felt when I saw that clip, because it takes a special kind of monster to do something like that. First of all, don't please don't drink and drive. Please don't get behind the wheel under any kind of substance, whether it be 1 beer, 17 beers, or other, like whatever you have. Just call an Uber, man. Just call an Uber. Get a friend to drive you. Like the $20 is not worth it. The 15, the 20, the $30 or whatever it is to call an Uber, to pay for whatever. Just please do that. Please do that, as opposed to doing what this I don't even this absolute loser did. And it, you know, the I don't even know what to say. It's just, they were supposed to be at their sister's wedding. This was supposed to be a summer of, growing with the young family, growing with the young team, growing with, they were in their early 30s. Like I think Johnny was 31, Matthew was 30 if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was the other way around. But they're right there. Like they had their whole lives ahead of them, and it was destroyed by somebody who didn't even look bothered to have done it. And that is the most baffling thing of all of this is, you know, they were supposed to be happy forever. And instead, it got, not only was it ripped out of them, it was ripped out of their family, their community, the hockey world, everybody that affected them. I mean, there were people like LeBron that tweeted about the loss. I had no idea LeBron James knew who they were. That's how far not only the hockey world, but these things reach nowadays. It is one of the biggest tragedies that I can remember in recent times. And I just hope that everybody around the league either wears a 13 decal, 13 to 21 decal, just something to, but it's something to commemorate both Johnny and Matthew. I really want to see both remembered in some way. I hope the number 13 is retired in Columbus and also maybe in Calgary.
It will be.
And that's the hope. That's the assumption. And but I don't want, I understand that Johnny was a big superstar in the NHL and Matthew wasn't, but I hope the NHL gives a lot of love to Matthew as well. I don't want him to be forgotten or be the secondary person. Like, two people lost their lives. I don't care how many points Matthew Gaudreau did or did not have in the NHL. That doesn't matter to me. Two brothers died, and that's the only thing that matters. And I hope the NHL does the right thing.
When we break out of the self-contained of the sports world, that's when it really kind of sinks in, and it really hits you just how grateful you are for the things you do get to do. You get to go to games, you get to watch on TV, the people you meet when you go to games, the friends you're able to make, all of that stuff is what makes these experiences so important. It's the people are what make these environments, what make these collections of people so important. It's people. Sports are fundamentally a people enterprise. They are fundamentally about how people interact with each other. It's why I always say sports movies aren't about sports. They're about people. Sports movies are people movies because of the way people interact with each other. That's where you really find the rawest and the most honest human condition. There is nothing more real than professional sports. I always say that all the time. It's why, as much as you might like movies, you might like TV, whatever, this is real. You cannot make sports up. And the people within the game, whether you're on the fan side of the glass, you're on the inside part of the glass playing in the game, what makes hockey great is the people. And we lost two great people, and the hockey world is not as good of a place as it was on Friday. And until we can all take an honest look at certain things in our society, it is going to continue to have stupid shit like this. This is the most avoidable thing in the world. At what point do you lose it to I just I'm really struggling, man. It's been a rough
Yeah.
few days, and just stewing on this, it's all so avoidable. And like you were saying, man, you guys are kids, 30, 31 years old. Matthew with a kid on the way, Johnny with one second kid on the way. It's the saddest thing imaginable. I went to bed Thursday night around probably like 1 o'clock, and I was refreshing over and over again trying to find out if it was them or not. And at a certain point I had to say I have to go to sleep. And that was the first thing I saw. And I looked at the graphic, and my brain, I'm used to being online all day. I'm like, what's the stat? And I did not process it was saying 1993 to 2024, 1992, whatever it was, to 2024. And then it sank in, and then I spent most of my Friday morning crying on and off and reminiscing. That's always how I try and cope and process loss, is to reminisce on the good stuff, to remember the good times, because John's one of the best we've ever seen. When John got ahead of steam and was bobbing and weaving through traffic, he's one of the best 3-on-3 overtime players in the format. That Flames team 3 years ago is one of the best regular season hockey teams of this era. Instrumental, down ballot Hart Trophy guy multiple times, and it's just unfathomable. You can't process it. I know that's kind of the trope about people, is that the most daunting thing in life is we all die, and because it's so daunting, we never really figure out how to process it, and we don't. For the most part, most of us don't. I was all right for 5 minutes, then I started crying a minute ago, and we're back, but it comes in waves. And I spent a lot of my weekend checking in on people, and this is one of the saddest things I can honestly recall. I did not realize how much I don't know, man. Go ahead.
It I I hear you. This is like I didn't to kind of finish your sentence. Like I didn't realize how much this would hit you. This would hit me, right? Like the thought process from 'cause some people could be, oh, we're not Flames fans, we're not Blue Jackets fans, we don't know these people personally, we've never had a conversation with them, but it doesn't matter because we understand that. Yeah, I mean they play a game for a living, but they're still human beings. They still have young families. They're still young themselves. Like we're only a couple of years younger than them. Like we're right there with them. And the fact that these people that had their whole lives ahead of them, who the outpouring of stories and support that we've seen in Columbus, around their arena, and Calgary outside their arena, and from everywhere else, the stories of the purple Gatorades being sold out because that's the highlight clip of Johnny Gaudreau at the bench, giving everybody the purple Gatorade and everybody being hydrated. Like those memories will always be the ones that highlight who he was as a player. And again, we can't forget about Matthew here. Like he was an NHL player, but he was right there with John the whole way. Obviously super supportive of each other, and he was trying to make it. He was battling. He was trying to make the dream a reality. And just because he didn't make the NHL, they still clearly were so close to each other. I mean, they were biking together, right? Like it's not as if the two paths diverged, and John was doing his own thing and Matthew was doing like, no, they were still together because that's what brothers are supposed to do. And they're not here because of some loser that wanted to ruin it. And it's I just don't have the words for it. Like it's something that we as a country, sure, as a society, have to reckon with. I mean, and these things will keep happening until we do something about it. that's the saddest part, is on top of all of the tragedy that has happened throughout the course of, this past weekend, the past 100 however many years of us having vehicles, people are still getting behind the wheel, not sober, and still driving. And this is just the worst, man. Like, this you go, I don't know, I'm out.
The last thing I want to say, and like I said, we're not going to do a normal episode today. It wouldn't be appropriate to talk about
No,
hockey
no,
today.
no.
It wouldn't be right. But the last thing I wanted to say was, and I don't know how many people who are in college, high school, whatever, listen to our show, but from the bottom of my heart, as somebody who genuinely believes in what the mission of the media is, there is a certain line where you have to be responsible. And having the knowledge of information is not the same thing as being able to report that information. And continuously, it is people in that blogging content space who ruin it for everyone else because they don't understand the difference. And I understand that guy's a kid. He's 19, 20 years old. He's in college. He's a dumbass. We're all stupid when we're kids, but in the media space, there is a fundamental difference in your responsibility, because it's not just that you said it and it may or may not be true. It's that that may have been how family members found out that that happened. And that is why you are not supposed to report something. You are not supposed to report a loss of life until the family's been notified for that exact reason. As much as you want to get it right, be the first one, and as much as people make fun of the newsroom, the news doesn't pronounce someone dead. A doctor pronounces someone dead. And what happened on Friday night, from somebody who I don't understand what goes through your head to be like, I heard this. I'm going to put it out there with no way of verifying anything. And that's the problem. Fundamentally, if you want to report something, you have to have at least you have to have at least two people telling you this. You can't have one, and you can't have two people who've talked to each other, because you get a feedback loop and you get bad information that way. What happened on Friday night from a media perspective can't happen. And look, I understand we're talking about South Jersey. We're talking about a small police department, not a lot of ability to get information out, answer questions, that type of thing. But from a media perspective, when you are in that spot and you get information like that, sit on it. It is the ethical thing to do. If you're not in the news breaking business, if you are not prepared for the consequences of pronouncing someone dead, don't report it. It's that simple. I take this shit seriously when it comes to the media space, because fundamentally the job of the media is to get people information so they can make decisions. And when you do shit like this, it makes everybody else look bad, and it makes the space look less professional. And it's a shame, because other people will get dragged down because of that. That publication that kid worked for, the other people in his immediate sphere will get ragged on. And there will always be the blogger in the basement derision, because people like that do that, as opposed to putting their head down and being responsible. We get news all the time. Andrew and I consistently, we talk to people, we hear things. Neither of us has the means to go to a second or third source to go and verify it. So we'll talk back and forth with each other and be like, I'm hearing this. Okay, that's good. We'll keep that in mind. And if it breaks, great. If not, whatever. There is a level of responsibility that just isn't there anymore, especially when you're starting out, because yes, social media is the plague of the 21st century and it's ruined everything, but that's why. Because that kid said, instead of trying to find out or just being responsible, he said, all right, I'm going to get a tweet off and try and get some engagement. And it's, oh God, man, it's just gross. Like, I really don't want to tell people how to grieve and whatnot, but at a certain point, it feels exploitative when
Yep.
people are just contentifying the loss of life, the memorialization of the loss of life. And instead of celebrating and reminiscing, we're talking about dumbasses. It's really just so damn frustrating that you try and do things the right way, and someone you don't know ruins it for everyone else.
One of the toughest parts about my job as producer of at Sirius XM NBA Radio is whenever I'm producing a show and somebody passes away that day, or you know, recently I was producing a show where Bill Walton passed away. Okay, well now it's a w- I've had to call his teammates. I've had to call people that have been close to him, and I've had to break the news. Obviously, we do that after everything has already been Like we're not just doing it right to do. Like we will triple and quadruple check with people and make sure that okay, like this is this actually real? Is this what's going on? Okay, so now we're going to have people on to celebrate that person's life, and that's one of the hardest things to do in my world is okay. I have to call these people and I have to tell them that this happened, that their friend, that their teammate, their coach, whoever it may be, is not here anymore. And sometimes they know, sometimes they heard it, and sometimes they haven't. And doing that in a respectful way while also, having them on to come on the show and celebrate that person's life is a very delicate thing to do. And it's not easy. And I would never think to, again, I don't know what that person was thinking, but I would never tweet out something, as just
Someone dying is different than a transaction. This
yes,
is
yeah. I'm not tweeting a trade.
yeah.
This is not like no. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not tweeting about oh, this person signed for X amount of money. Like somebody is not here anymore. This is not the same thing. I'm not quote tweeting Elliot because he quote tweeted some team's account who broke a trade, poking fun at the fact that he's quote tweeting a trade. Like, no. Don't like no. Like this is not this is not a paper transaction. This is something that is so utterly different and so not in the same stratosphere of things. Not everything has to be tweeted.
No.
Not everything has to be publicized. Not everything has to be put onto social media as soon as it happens or as soon as you hear about it. These are real human beings and they deserve to be treated with respect. And it is, and just not to spend too much time on that person, but just to go back to Matthew and John, it's these two individuals were loved in their community, were loved by their teammates, their coaches, their peers, their families. They were loved by the hockey world. People outside the hockey world, you had baseball teams with moment of silences and basketball players tweeting about it and football. Like everybody was on the same page, just mourning and celebrating their life as opposed to doing anything else. And that is social media at its best, where we are taking the best parts of what made somebody great and we are sharing them with everybody else. That's what makes social media, at least some parts of it, not as bad. Is where we take okay, we could bring back that Gatorade story. We can bring back the him taping pucks around himself to make himself a little bit heavier at the weigh-in. We can take stories like that and we can reshare them. We can have it's not just about hey, this person's not here anymore. It's also this person's not here anymore, but we have these great moments and we have these great lessons from these people that we can take with us forever. And that's something that we should be focused on as well moving forward. And it was really heartwarming to see the GoFundMe's being just floored with money from players and wives and other people, and just seeing the support from everybody around them. And I mean, these people just need everything right now. I mean, obviously, money's important to them, but uh, they need love, man. These people need love. They need your support. They need your positive stories. They need your hugs. They need your positive affirmation. They need everything right now. And the more we can give to them, whether it be money, what if you can give money, if you're in a position to do that, and you are so kind to do that, that's awesome. Obviously, uh, share love, share support, share whatever you can. They need everything, and it's I don't know the best way to end my train of thought, but this is something that we're gonna like. The NHL hopefully does the right thing. They'll and then hopefully the Gaudreau brothers won't be forgotten and they'll be highlighted by the league, by social media, by teammates and players and coaches and everybody in their communities for a long time, because they deserve it, and we should give them that.
The last thing I just want to say, sports are better when we come together, man. Sports are better because of the people in the community. The more friendly, the more welcoming you can be, the more opportunities people are going to have. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is everybody being able to enjoy themselves, be safe, be responsible, and just enjoy this, because hockey is very fun. And we lost two people who really made hockey fun. And that's all we got. We'll talk hockey at some point next week, but for now, this is what